The Islamic Republic of Iran stands at a precipice of a total collapse. For 12 harrowing days, the streets have erupted in unprecedented fury. A tsunami of humanity demanding not reforms, but the regime's complete dissolution. From packed bazaars in Tehran to remote villages, from university teeming with Gen Z rage to funeral processions transformed into roaring masses, Iran is convulsing with a ferocity. Government buildings are burning, the entire nation has been plunged into digital darkness, and credible intelligence reports now reveal that the regime's leadership is scrambling to flee the country as Russian military aircrafts arrive to salvage what remains of this crumbling state. Well, the symbols of state authorities are ablaze across Iran. In Isfahan, Iran's third largest city, the very machinery of propaganda, state radio and television facilities have been engulfed in flames, torched by rebellious youth refusing to remain silent any longer. From Lunar in Ilan province to city squares in Mashhad, government buildings are burning as protesters have moved beyond chants and placards to direct action against the regime's physical infrastructure. Well, across the country, police vehicles have been overturned in the affluent Qad Square of Tehran as mobs chanted death to the oppressor, while footage circulating globally shows protesters in Mashhad literally tearing the Iranian flag in half amid defending cries against the leadership. From north to south and east to west, millions of Iranians have literally taken their grievances from the bazaars to the streets of the very chambers of power, torching the physical manifestation of state tyranny. In fact, in more than 111 cities spread across all 31 provinces, state institutes are under siege, and security forces are proving incapable of protecting them all. At precisely 1 p.m. local time on January 8th, Iran vanished from the digital map of the world. Internet traffic monitoring organizations like NetBlocks and Cloudflare confirm the near-total collapse of internet connectivity across the nation, a 35% immediate crash that would eventually become a comprehensive blackout, cutting off millions from contact with the outside world. Minutes later, landline telephone systems were also severed. Mobile networks went silent. Well, the Islamic Republic, in its desperation, had cut off its own people from communication with friends, family, and most importantly, the international community observing their real-time rebellion. This was calculated state repression executed with precision. In fact, reports suggest the decision came in response to a coordinated nationwide call issued by exiled Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi instructing Iranians to demonstrate, and the regime feared that connection itself was a weapon in the hands of the uprising. Yet the blackout backfired. Rather than silencing the uprising, it became its most powerful symbol, the visual equivalent of a regime admitting defeat. Well, when the government cuts off all communication, it confesses that its narrative no longer matters, that it can no longer compete with the local protesters. Now the most important part. The streets run red. At least 45 confirmed dead, with casualty figures climbing daily as security forces deploy lethal force with escalating abandon. In total, at least 2,200 protesters have been arrested, some dragged from hospitals where they sought treatment for their wounds. With security forces raiding the Sima Hospital in Tehran and Imam Khomeini Hospital in Ilan to capture the injured. Well, the regime's response mechanism has become pathologically obvious. First the bullets, then the lies. And when security forces kill teenagers, they claim self-defense. When captured footage shows unarmed civilians being shot, they blame enemy elements and so-called writers. Well, they are not writers. They are demanding something fair. Yet every death has proven to be a reason for an upward tick in the uprising and anger amongst the common Iranian. Intelligence agencies are sounding alarm that previously seemed unthinkable. Iran's supreme leader, is preparing to flee. As we told you earlier, Khamenei has formulated a plan B, a contingency escape route that would transport him with some close associates, family members to Moscow should security forces fail to contain the uprising. And what makes this piece of information even more alarming is the corroborating evidence arriving from multiple directions. In fact, British Member of Parliament Tom Tugendhat informed the House of Commons that at least 5 Russian cargo aircrafts have landed in Tehran during the first week of January. Now, some reports simultaneously points that massive quantities of gold are leaving Iran, being physically transported out of the country as regime elites systematically liquidate national assets to fund their overseas exile. The symbolism is unmistakable. Seems like Moscow is preparing landing pads for Tehran's elite, and it also looks like the gold leave first and the leadership follows. Well, Iran has reached what international observers are describing as a possible tipping point. And the question is no longer if Islamic Republic will fall, but when and how.